Hi everyone, welcome to another live stream. Tassif here, and it is 9:03 p.m. Sorry, I'm a little late. I just had to do a few things before I could get started. So, thank you all for being here. Um, there's something important I want to discuss. You may have already seen in the title of the live stream that I'm going to be talking about Denver. Okay, so as always, I'm going to wait for a minute or two before I get started. And so please, if you are here, write something in the chat window. Let me know who's here. Let me know where you're from. And I want to thank all those people who watch the replay of my live stream. Obviously, not everyone's schedule works out. The schedules may not be aligned. I obviously do my live streams around 9 p.m. or 9:30 p.m. Central Time, sometimes 8 p.m. Central Time, depending on the day of the week. And sometimes I'm doing it from my desk. Most of the time, I'm doing live streams from my desk. And sometimes I do them from my car. And so I know not everyone can tune in. There are lots of people who watch my videos, but not everyone can join at 9 p.m. or 9:30 p.m. Central Time for the live stream. So I appreciate all those who watch the replay. All right, my friends, I see more people have joined. My friend Terry is here. Terry, thank you for being here. And I'm going to get started in like 30 seconds, okay? Let's do a countdown, 30 seconds. I'm going to get started. So thank you for being here. And, it seems like every day there's something happening with regard to immigration. There's something happening, pertaining to the border crisis, the migrant crisis, and we need to discuss those things. And it's just the liberals, they have endless bad ideas. Okay, these politicians in places like New York, Chicago, Denver, they just keep coming up with bad ideas, and the constituents, the people living in those areas suffer as a result. Okay, we're almost at the 3-minute mark. Let me just go straight into the discussion without giving you any further introduction. Denver, the city of Denver, is reportedly reducing migrant services. Okay, Denver is closing 4 shelters, reportedly. They're reducing migrant services. Now, what is migrant services? It's a fancy word, migrant services. Denver is reducing migrant services. Oh, what a great job they're doing. What exactly is migrant services? Denver is scaling back migrant services. What exactly is migrant service? There's nothing called migrant services. Migrant services simply mean that the politicians are spending our tax dollars on the migrants. That's it. That's migrant services. That's what it means. If somebody asks you what's migrant services, it just means that our tax dollars, us Americans, our tax dollars are being taken away by these liberal politicians without our permission and without our authorization, we the people. These liberal politicians are not listening to we the people. These liberal politicians are just using their power to provide services to the migrants at taxpayers' expense. That's migrant services. And now the city of Denver is reportedly reducing migrant services. Okay? There should have been 0 migrant services to begin with. Okay? This guy, what's his name? Mike Johnston, the mayor of Denver. Mike Johnston. The mayor announced that Denver is scaling back services for the migrants. So are we supposed to feel bad? Are we supposed to what? Be sorry? The mayor of Denver announced that the city is scaling back services for the migrants and will close 4 shelters during the next 4 weeks to save $60 million in the long term. So, it sounds great, right? Trying to save $60 million. Well, I'm going to get to that. The mayor reportedly said that the city will consolidate shelters and save millions of dollars. When a liberal administration says that they are cutting back services for the migrants to save money, I just want to ask, haven't you already spent massive sums of dollars, tax dollars on the migrants without permission of the taxpayers? I mean, the taxpayers have not given these liberal politicians the authority to go and spend millions of our dollars on the migrants. And when I say our, I'm referring to us, the people. I'm not a Denver resident. I'm not a New York resident. I'm not a Chicago resident. I'm a Madison, Wisconsin resident. But I'm saying we, us, because us, Americans, it's our dollars, no matter where you live. And so these liberal politicians, they are pretending like they are doing something great by saving money. They're trying to save money. What does saving money even mean? These liberal politicians, they spent millions and millions, billions, in fact, of American tax dollars on the migrants. When you look at all these sanctuary cities, New York, Chicago, Denver, and the entire state of California is a sanctuary. And now these people, these liberal politicians, they want to tell us that they are trying to save money. Well, let me tell you. Let me ask, why did Denver spend huge sums of money on the migrants? That's the question. Why did you spend? I mean, forget what you're trying to do now, trying to save money, $60 million. Forget that. Keep that aside. Why did Denver spend massive sums of money on the migrants? Not a single dollar should have been spent on the migrants. Not a single dollar. Remember, my friends, I told you this. I told you on this channel, I told you that Denver is facing a $180 million budget shortfall. $180 million budget shortfall. That's what Denver is facing. And now the city wants to save $60 million to decrease the budget shortfall down to $120 million. That's what they're trying to do. There's a budget shortfall of $180 million, $180 million. And by taking whatever steps they're trying to take, the mayor and his administration, reducing migrant services, closing shelters, they're trying to save $60 million. So 180 minus 60 equals to 120. There will still be a shortfall, $120 million. I mean, it's a complete mess. These liberal politicians and their sanctuary city policies. And now the people of Denver are suffering. I mean, whenever I thought about Denver, I thought about what a beautiful city in beautiful Colorado. Amazing place, scenic beauty. Now when I think about Denver, I think about migrant crisis. I think about lawlessness. I think about poor governance. I think about liberal politicians taking tax dollars and spending those dollars on the migrants while the American people continue to suffer. That's Denver. That's what I think now when I think about Denver, Colorado. That's what comes to mind. A beautiful city. I mean, you see how these liberal politicians, they're destroying city after city, community after community. New York is a complete mess because of the sanctuary city policy. Chicago, not far from where I live. It's a 3-hour drive from Madison to Chicago, depending on, the where in Chicago you're going and depending on the traffic. If you're traveling during rush hour, it takes a little longer. Okay. Anyway, in neighboring Illinois, Chicago, beautiful city, but now complete mess because of sanctuary city policies. And now Denver. So let me share with you something else. Badger Den writes, hello Anam, whenever I thought of Denver, I always thought of the Broncos, the Denver Broncos. And now this mess will be on my mind. Exactly. You see, Badger Den, that's the point. You know, I think there's a permanent shift in people's thought process. Okay? There's a permanent shift in people's thought process. Whenever somebody mentions the name of a major, community, a city, different people come up with different thoughts, but there's always something positive. I think most people, they think of something positive, right? They think of maybe beautiful mountains, or they think about the ocean, the sandy beaches. When somebody mentions Florida, I think about the sea and the beautiful beaches and tourism. And so, whenever somebody mentions the name of a city, you could either think about the good things in that city, maybe tourism or skyscrapers. You can think of the sports team, as Badger Den mentioned. Whenever you think about Denver, you think about the Broncos, right? And that's how we should be thinking. We should be thinking about the great things, the good things, the positive things in any American city. But now all these cities are being destroyed because of liberal politicians and their policies. So previously, whenever I thought about Chicago, I thought about the beautiful skyline. I thought about Lake Michigan. I thought about all the nice restaurants. I thought about all the nice tourist places that you can visit. I thought about, all the great things. There are so many great things about Chicago. But now, whenever I think about Chicago, I think about the migrant crisis. I think about Mayor Brandon Johnson and all his bad ideas. I think about the Chicago City Council allocating millions of dollars for the migrants, while there are so many homeless people in Chicago, homeless Americans who continue to suffer. I think about the poverty in Chicago and the lawlessness. I think about how small businesses in Chicago are suffering because of the widespread lawlessness. Those are the things I think about now when I think of Chicago. And it's unfortunate, it's sad. And when I think of New York, there are so many great things in New York. What an amazing city. Rich history. And now when I think of New York, I think about the migrants. I think about, like I mentioned during the previous live stream, in New York, and Badger Den, you're from Queens, right? You're from Queens. I don't know if you joined me for yesterday's live stream, but I talked about Queens, New York in my live stream yesterday. So I don't know if you joined me for the live stream or if you watched the replay, but I talked about how dozens of migrants were found living in the basement of a furniture store in Queens, New York. I discussed that in details. I think it was yesterday. Yes, it was yesterday. I mean, and I asked, Badger Den writes, I watched the replay. Thank you for watching that. It's just shocking. Dozens of migrants living in the basement of a furniture store in New York. And so now when I think of New York, I think about all this stuff. And so Denver, what are we gonna? Teresa Ross is here. Teresa, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. Teresa writes, I think about blues music when I think about Chicago. Yeah, these are great American cities. Denver, New York, Chicago, LA, San Francisco. But all of these places that I just mentioned, all of these cities are now suffering because of the migrants. And why are the migrants here? Because of the bad policies of the liberals. Biden kept the border open, migrants are coming in, and these liberal politicians in these cities, they are enticing the migrants by offering all kinds of free stuff, and that's destroying businesses, that's destroying peace in the community, that's taking away our resources, and you know it's changing the way we think about these cities, the way the Americans think about New York, about Chicago, about Denver. It's changing permanently. My friend Terry writes, tourists won't be going to these cities in the exactly. I mean, the whole world is watching. The whole world knows what's going on in New York, what's going on in San Francisco, what's going on in Chicago. We live in the day and age of internet. So everyone knows. So do you think, let's say a tourist from Europe, or a tourist from Africa, or a tourist from Asia, okay? Somebody from some other part of the world who's looking to visit the United States and wants to experience the great American cities like New York, Chicago, Denver. Now, how do you think that when they find out, when they read about all these crises and the migrants and all the problems that these cities are facing, why would tourists want to visit? When people read about all the crime taking place in Chicago, and migrants everywhere, and widespread poverty, homelessness, do you think tourists will visit Chicago? The tourism numbers will go down, tourism revenue will go down. And once you lose tourists, it's not easy to win them back. That's one thing. Therefore, I keep saying that this border crisis is causing permanent damage to our economy. So as I was saying, Denver, let me just look at the chat window here. Badger Den writes, my brother comes to visit me every summer. I'll be begging him not to come. It is not safe for him. Yeah, I mean, safety is the number one thing. People want to be in communities where they can be safe, they can raise a family, they can walk on the streets, they can go to places and feel safe. And when you visit a place, when you're going someplace away from home, you're not going to go to an unsafe place where there's lots of crimes, where you don't feel safe walking on the streets, or things like that. So I mean, these cities are going to be suffering financially for a very, very long time, because tourism is going to go down, and a lot of residents, I discussed this previously, that it's kind of hard to move once you have roots in a community, but people may at one point decide to move. Many people will leave New York, many people will leave Chicago, many people will leave Denver and find other places to live. A lot of people will be moving to red states, Republican states, states that will not, states that don't support illegal immigration, states that will not provide taxpayer-funded services to the migrants. So a lot of people may move away from the blue states and go to the red states. Maya Sisters is here. Maya Sisters, thank you for joining. Terry writes, will Chicago clean for the DNC convention this? I don't know, Terry. What do you think? Good question for the great Brandon Johnson, the failed mayor of Chicago. Good question for him. Will Chicago clean for the DNC convention? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. So as I was saying, that Denver is now trying to save $60 million to decrease the budget shortfall from 180 million down to 120 million. Okay. Now, there's another thing that I should mention. According to reports, and I saw this in a news report. I don't know who did the calculation. I think this is, according to reports, you can go do your own fact check. It has been estimated. This is an estimate, right? It has been estimated that 40 to 60% of the migrants who arrive in Denver are now opting to go to other places by bus, meaning they are going away from Denver. Okay, so all the migrants who are arriving in Denver, an estimated 40 to 60% of those migrants are now choosing to go to other places by bus. That means they're coming to Denver and 40 to 60% of them are taking bus rides to other places, okay? Going away from Denver. Okay, now the first question is, who pays for these bus rides? Reportedly, the city of Denver pays for the bus rides, meaning that the taxpayers are paying for the bus rides that the migrants are getting, the bus rides that the migrants are taking to go to other places. Now, what does that mean? That means that Denver's problem is spreading to other communities. So the migrants, they are coming to Denver, but not everyone's staying in Denver. 40 to 60% estimated they're taking city-funded bus rides to go to other places. So from Denver, the problem is spreading to other parts of Colorado, I think. Now, here's an interesting update that I want to share with you. There's a small community in Colorado that voted against becoming a sanctuary city. That is correct. A community in Colorado voted against becoming a sanctuary city. Monument, Colorado, voted unanimously to declare that it will not be a sanctuary city. My friends, if you have been watching my live stream, then I'm sure that you've heard me say this before more than once, that cities, towns, and villages and counties should proactively declare that they are not a sanctuary community. And I've said that. I said, don't wait for migrants to arrive. Don't wait to see if migrants are going to make their way into your community. Don't wait for that. Just do it proactively. Let's say that your community, your village has not seen any migrant showing up. Your city has not seen any migrant arrivals. Still, the city's leaders should pass a resolution and declare that the city will not be a sanctuary city. Do it proactively. Do it before migrants start showing up. And I encourage local leaders all over the country to do this. Take a stance against illegal immigration. Just go out there, do a press conference, talk about it during a city council meeting, talk about it during a county board meeting. Just make it public that the city, that the community, the village, the town, the county will not be a sanctuary. And Monument, Colorado did that. Monument, Colorado voted unanimously to declare that it will not be a sanctuary city. So as Denver gets crushed under the burden of illegal immigration, other communities are proactively taking steps to declare that they will not be sanctuary communities for the migrants. And before I go further in the discussion, let me look at the chat window. Maya Sisters writes, I heard about the free bus rides. Denver is pushing its problems onto other places. Yeah, onto other areas. This is funny because so Maya Sisters, you mentioned the free bus rides. And that's something that we should discuss further. As I said, it's free for the migrants. It's free for the migrants. but there's somebody paying for the bus rides. Who's paying for the bus rides? The taxpayers. The American taxpayers are paying for the bus rides. So the migrants, they see everything as free. You just cross the border, you enter the United States, and you got free housing, you got free food, free medical services, free legal services. Because I said this before, Kathy Hochul, she wants to give free legal services to the migrants, funded by taxpayers. And so things are free for the migrants, but those things are really not free. Who's paying for those stuff? Who's paying for migrant housing? Who's paying for migrant meals? Who's paying for migrant healthcare? Who's paying for the bus rides that the migrants are taking? The American taxpayers. And so for them, it's free. For us, it's not. The Americans are paying for the bus rides for the migrants. And why should we pay? We should not pay. If I need to go someplace, if I need to go 5 miles out, okay, 5 miles towards downtown, I'll have to drive my own vehicle, pay for the gas, which, by the way, here in Madison, Wisconsin, I was so upset this morning. You might have seen a YouTube shorts that I published. Okay, it was it was less than it was a video less than 60 seconds. All right, I published that because yesterday I was buying gas and I saw that it's 3.1 and something, 3.1, let's just round it up, $3.1 per gallon. And that's for, the cheaper gas. Okay, I'm not buying the premium one. And $3.1 per gallon, that's pretty high, okay, in a place like Madison, Wisconsin. And I thought that was high. Today it's 3.34 something. Price just went up 20 cents. And it's unbelievable. So if I need to go someplace, if I need to go to, from point A to point B in Madison, I have to drive my car, pay for the gas. If I want to take the bus, I'll have to get a bus pass. I have to pay for it. It's not going to be free. But for these migrants, they're getting free stuff. Free stuff. And this is not okay. Let me see the comments here. Yep. So we are the ones paying for the free stuff that the migrants are getting. And so what's happening in Colorado is that Denver is now pushing its problems towards other communities. And so other communities will have to take action like Monument, Colorado did. They voted unanimously to declare that they'll not be a sanctuary city. And so the mayor of Monument, Colorado said that the city's budget doesn't have the money to support the migrants. I'm going to look something up here on my computer. All right. Give me 1 second here. The mayor of Monument, Colorado said that the city's budget doesn't have the money to support the migrants. And that's a sensible statement. I mean, this is leadership. It's simple math, my friends. It's simple math. There are needs in the community. There are Americans in need, Americans who don't have decent housing, Americans who are at risk of homelessness, Americans who are already homeless, Americans who are living in poverty, Americans who have healthcare problems and they don't have access to healthcare services, Americans who had catastrophic health problems. They ended up in the hospital and they received the services, but now they can't afford to pay the bill. They're stuck in an unfortunate situation. There are Americans who are not getting the food that they need. They have health problems. They need nutritious food, but they're not getting the food that they need because they suffer from food insecurity. There are Americans who don't have warm clothes. There are Americans who can't pay for heat. There are Americans who who are struggling, who can't move forward in life because they don't have reliable transportation. There are American children who are living in poverty. So there are lots of needs in our community. And the government gets revenue in the form of taxes and fees, and then the government has some responsibilities, some obligations it has to fulfill. But it is not the government's obligation to provide taxpayer funded services to the migrants. That's plain and simple. The government should not spend tax dollars on the migrants. But that's what's happening in New York, in Chicago, in Denver, and in many other places in the country. These liberal politicians who are in positions of power, who are in various elected offices, they are taking our dollars and spending those dollars on the migrants. And the migrants, they are just getting free stuff because they don't have to pay for it. We pay for it. Let me tell you about another Colorado community, Aurora, Colorado. Aurora, Colorado is also saying no to the migrants. The Aurora City Council approved a resolution to publicly declare that the city would not provide housing or other services to the migrants. So if the migrants think that they are going to take a Denver city-funded bus ride to Aurora or to Monument, Colorado, well, Aurora made it clear that they are not going to provide services to the migrants. As the sanctuary communities head towards financial insolvency, American communities are now starting to declare that they will not be sanctuary for illegal immigrants. My friends, it's about fiscal responsibility. It's about good governance. It's about sensible policymaking. It's about logic and reason. Aurora, Colorado said that the city does not have the capacity to provide funding for services for the migrants. And that's a very logical and sensible thing to say. Because the city leaders, they have their responsibilities. They have to represent the will of the people living in Aurora, Colorado. And so the city leaders decided that they are going to say no to the migrants, and that's the right thing to do. Not a single tax dollar should be spent on the migrants. The border is still open. The crisis is ongoing, and we need a new leader in the White House. A new leader can solve the problems. These problems have gotten so bad. It'll take time. It'll take a lot of energy and resources. It'll take bold actions to solve these problems. We already have millions and millions and millions of undocumented, illegal immigrants. We have millions and millions of illegal immigrants who are here in this country since 2021. Millions and millions of people who crossed the southern border to enter the United States. And they are expecting free stuff. When will this crisis end? My friends, we need a new leader. We need a bold president. Who do you think it's going to be? Donald Trump. Let's look at the chat window here. My sister says, let's stop calling it resources, but tax dollars, exactly. Tax dollars are used to buy stuff, to provide services. So our tax dollars are being used. Yeah, Badger Den writes that some people who voted for Biden are now realizing their mistakes. That is really true. That is really true. A lot of people, let me tell you, a lot of people who voted for Biden, there are some moderate Democrats, right? Folks who won't vote Republican, so they voted for Biden because they lean to the left, and now they regret. I know people who voted for Biden, but they can't think of voting for Biden again. So what are they going to do? They're either going to stay home on election day, or they are going to have to make the right decision to go and vote for Donald Trump. Because what really has Biden given this country? Biden, because of the Biden administration's policies, we have inflation. Gas prices going up. As I said, $3.34 per gallon here in Madison, Wisconsin. And this is unacceptable. Why are prices not going down? Gas should be $2 per gallon. That's what I think a reasonable price would be. I paid $3.34 per gallon today. I made a YouTube Shorts video, published that. You can hear the frustration in my voice if you watch that Shorts video. It's on my channel. Terry writes, we have a leader. We just need to get him in the White. Absolutely, we have a leader. Donald Trump is the leader. Everything that he does, it's leadership. And the Republican Party is united. Republicans are united, and I'm sure that this election, there will be Democrats. There will be some Democrats voting for Donald Trump. As I said, moderate Democrats who voted for Biden, but now they regret because they are suffering. Their families are suffering because of inflation, because they cannot afford to pay for gas. And look at the world. America's leadership is important in ensuring world peace. We are the global leader. We are the superpower. And when Donald Trump was in office, we didn't have the kind of chaos that we now have in other parts of the world. Donald Trump was a strong leader, and the world understood that. And we were in a much better situation back then. But now look at all the conflicts, all the wars, all the unrest, well beyond the borders of the United States, in different parts of the world. There's global chaos, there's global unrest. Why? Because we don't have a strong leader in the Oval Office. We need a strong leader, my friends. And as my friend Terry said, we have a leader. We just need to get him in the White House. So November 2024, it's important to make your voices heard and to vote for the right candidate, the one who can bring back economic stability, the one who can make energy affordable, the one who will support the fossil fuels, make sure that America is using its natural resources, coal, oil, and gas. A leader who will secure the southern border and stop the influx of illegal immigrants. We need a strong leader, my friends. And we know who that leader is. Who's excited about Super Tuesday? Anyone excited about Super Tuesday? I see other people have joined. Thank you for joining. I see more and more people are joining. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Who's excited about Super Tuesday? Terry writes, me. Terry, you're excited about Super Tuesday. I am also very excited about Super Tuesday. Now, no, I'm not going to talk about Haley. Listen. No, I'm not going to talk about Nikki Haley. All right. Terry, should I talk about Nikki Haley? No, I don't think so, right? Anyone thinks that she might be the GOP nominee? No, well, hold on. I'm not going to talk about her, all right? All right, my friends. What can I say? Let me look at some of the comments. So, AFP Action has withdrawn its support, okay? AFP Action, Americans for Prosperity Action, stopped spending money to support Nikki Haley. And so, I don't know, I guess it's just a matter of time. She's going to have to, at some point, suspend her campaign. I saw something very interesting. If you just give me 1 minute, I'm going to look it up. I haven't been able to uh, read the details. Just give me a few seconds. So, you guys know who Marianne Williamson is? Marianne Williamson. She is an author, and she previously ran for president from the Democratic side, and she suspended her campaign. So Marianne Williamson, running in a primary to challenge Joe Biden, she ended her campaign. She suspended her campaign. I think it was after, I don't know exactly when she suspended her campaign. Now, I saw this today, and I'm just pulling it up on my other screen. I saw this today that Marianne Williamson unsuspends her presidential campaign. Okay? Unsuspends. All right? She suspended her presidential campaign, and now she's unsuspending her presidential campaign, which means that she's relaunching her presidential campaign just a few weeks after ending it. And so, my friend, that's why I keep saying that this is not politics as usual, all right? If you are somebody who has been involved politically, who has paid attention to politics, you've been paying attention to political and government news updates, and you've been involved and you've been an informed citizen for decades. You're a very politically knowledgeable individual, and you've been following politics for decades. Well, the politics that you've been following and the politics of today, it's different. We live in a very different world, and things that never happened before are happening now. Susan Epp writes, hello. Hello, Susan. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, JW and others. So I don't know about you, and I haven't done enough research to know this, but based on my experience, I've never really heard a presidential campaign being suspended and relaunched in the same cycle. I mean, it's one thing if you suspend your campaign for 2024 and 4 years later you launch a new campaign for president. But Marianne Williamson, she suspended her campaign just a few weeks ago, and now she's relaunching her campaign. This is pretty amazing stuff, okay? And this is happening on the Democratic side. Marianne Williamson is not a Republican. She's not looking to become the Republican nominee for president. She's running from the Democratic side, and she's launching her campaign again. And I don't know. It's just interesting what's going on in the world. I mean, somebody suspends a campaign and you think that's it, but then the person relaunches it. It's just unbelievable. Okay, Super Tuesday. My friend Terry has the list here. Super Tuesday, Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, California. Yeah, I'm looking at the list. This live chat window keeps vanishing. So I'm trying to pay attention and it just goes away. Let's see. All right, Super Tuesday. Yeah, lots of important states. That'll be making decisions on Super Tuesday. Now, Texas. Who do you think is going to win in Texas? All right, who thinks Nikki Haley will win Texas? Anyone there? And anyone who's watching this live stream, do you think Nikki Haley might win the Texas race on Super Tuesday? Huh? I think Trump's gonna win. I think Trump's gonna win. I think Trump's gonna win Alabama. I think Trump's gonna win Texas. I think Trump's gonna win. You know, I think Trump might win it all. Um, Badger Den writes, Nikki will never win Texas. Badger, I was just joking, like, will Nikki Haley? So here's the thing: Nikki Haley hasn't won anything. Why is she still running? Um, Terry writes, I heard today of the 7 swing state. Trump wins 7. Trump's gonna win Wisconsin. Trump's gonna win Wisconsin. So Wisconsin. I mean, people. Let me tell you, here in Wisconsin, people love Trump. Okay. Uh, Wisconsin primary. So it'll be interesting. Let me just look something up. Primary election. I've got my screen here. I've got my other screen here. Let's see. Primary election day. Okay. So let me share with you some info here. But let me look at the comments. All right. So Super Tuesday, we've got Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, and Terry wrote all these states in her comment. And there's more. I'm not going to go through the whole list. But then coming up in April, so April's going to be so important here in Wisconsin. So we have our presidential primary in April in Wisconsin. And I don't know if Nikki Haley is going to continue staying in the race until then. But if Nikki Haley continues with her campaign into the month of April, then I can tell you she's not going to win Wisconsin. Nikki Haley is not going to win Wisconsin. All right, it's gonna be Trump. I cannot tell you how much people love Trump here in Wisconsin. Okay, how much people love Trump. And so Nikki Haley is not going to win the Republican presidential primary here in Wisconsin. All right. April 2nd is going to be very interesting. New York is going to be having the presidential primary, the GOP presidential primary on April 2nd. Wow. Any prediction on what the results will be in New York for the presidential primary, the Republican presidential primary? Obviously, I think Trump's going to win. I'm just curious to see if Nikki Haley is still campaigning, if she's still campaigning for president on April 2nd, is she gonna, I just wonder how many votes she'll get, what percentage votes she'll get in New York and in Wisconsin. But Wisconsin will overwhelmingly vote for Trump. I'm pretty confident. All right, Badger Den writes, I'm for Kristi Noem for VP. JW writes, I hope Trump picks Tim Scott. All of them are great candidates, and I discussed. I think I went candidate by candidate to discuss, the different potential presidential vice presidential picks. Let's see. Maya Sisters writes, I think Byron Donalds of Florida. See, I love it. I love the fact that you're here joining this live stream and you're sharing your thoughts, and that's what's great about us conservatives. We have, uh, we are always happy to share our thoughts and what's on our mind, and we have different preferences even within the same party. Like Badgerden says, Badgerden is for Kristi Noem for VP. JW says, I hope Trump picks Tim Scott, and Maya Sisters is writing Byron Donald. So each of you have a different preference, but I'm sure at the end of the day, here's the great thing about Republicans: at the end of the day, whoever Trump picks, we're going to support that candidate. We're going to support that candidate. So if Trump picks Kristi Noem, we're going to support Kristi Noem. If Trump picks Tim Scott, we're going to support Tim Scott. If Trump picks Byron Donalds, we're going to support Byron Donalds. So, you know, uh, it's just we have to be united. We have to be unified, and I think the Republicans are united. Um, Someone just wrote this. So okay, Prague, you're writing that I haven't addressed your comments. I'm so sorry. So I'm doing the live stream, and let me tell you, the screen that I see here, I'm actually pretty good about responding to comments that people write here. Although I always say that it's not possible for me to address all the comments. There are lots of questions that I sometimes get. It's not possible for me to address all the questions. But let me tell you, people have emailed me outside of the live streams, and with their thoughts, or have sent messages with their thoughts. And I sometimes pick those topics that people mention to me, and I do live streams on those topics. So if you feel that I haven't addressed your comment, I'm very sorry. But let me tell you, on my end, I see a screen. I see myself in the screen, and the live chat window is on one side of the screen, and it actually keeps popping up and vanishing. So when there are new comments, the live chat window will appear, and then if there are multiple comments, and as I try to scroll and read all of those comments, the live chat window will sometimes vanish. So I have to click again and make it reappear. So please, if you feel that I haven't addressed your comments or something, I'm very sorry. It's not, I'm not, it's just because either the screen keeps vanishing, or I just, it's not possible for me to address all the comments, all the questions during one live stream. So, please don't feel bad. Those who have been tuning in for my live streams, I'm sure that, I love having all of you join. I love having the exchange and the back and forth and the sharing of knowledge. And sometimes, there are so many things happening in the world. It's not just me presenting information to you. I also get to learn a lot from some of the comments that I read. And my friend Terry can tell you, Terry will sometimes send me some important breaking news and updates. And sometimes I share with her some breaking news and updates outside of this live stream. So we share information, we share knowledge. And so I want my live stream and my YouTube channel to be sort of a community in which people can come and they can share their thoughts, their views, their opinions. They can ask questions, they can learn from each other. And so as much as I'm presenting information to you, I'm also learning from the comments that you write. So if I've missed addressing your comment, I am sorry. It's just that I have this flow. I'm talking, I'm addressing different things, and sometimes I'm looking at my other laptop screen, which is right here. um, and I try to be engaged. Okay. Anyway, so we're approaching the 55-minute time mark. I plan on ending this live stream soon, unless you have other questions or comments. I see Badger Den writes, have a safe and blessed night, Maya. So Maya is probably leaving. See, I missed that. Is Maya leaving? Oh, Maya writes, nice chatting. I gotta pick up my son from work. Have a good night, Maya. So Terry writes, I'm biased for South Dakota Governor Noem. Terry, I think I'll be very happy if Kristi Noem is chosen as the VP. I think it'll be great. Um, Let's see. Um, let's see. Terry writes, I like all the VP potential, so I won't be disappointed by anyone. I feel the same way, Terry. I think, and I have confidence that Trump is going to pick the right person for the job. I have confidence. Susan writes, good night. Thank you, Susan, for joining. Susan, I think you asked me a question on one of my videos about Sri Lanka. So I just want to say I am from Bangladesh, which is in South Asia, and Sri Lanka is also in that region, but it's not exactly a neighboring country, but it's in that part of the world. I was going to respond to your comment, but I've had such a busy day, so I just could not. So if you're still watching, if you're still listening, yeah, I hope I answered that. I answered that question. So I was born and raised in Bangladesh, came to the United States as an immigrant, and now I'm a naturalized U.S. citizen. Um, so happened to my screen here. All right, my screen is back. Um, okay, Susan writes, my land